Hey everybody, it's Tiqqle, and in this video we're going through my macros as an Elemental Shaman. I've broken it down. I'm going to be putting it all into a paste bin or a Google Doc or something. It's going to be in the description. Go ahead and go click that if you want to see a copy and paste version of these. But we're going to walk through all the macros that I'm using, why I'm using them, what they're good for, some strategies that I use with my macros that I've found have really increased my gameplay recently. So this will all be part of as well my PvP guide that I'm putting together. You should stay tuned on the channel. I will be putting that out very soon. It's going to be out in written format and in video format, so everybody's going to be able to see it however they want to see it. First, starting with my arena target 1, 2, 3. Now, arena target, you can see it here too. Arena target 1, 2, 3. This goes onto my mouse, which I'll lift up here, my mouse, which has these 12 buttons. I've keybound this first row to be targeting enemy players. And then the second column of buttons, that is for shearing those players. So I also I'm now using shear 1, or arena target 1, shear arena target 2, shear arena target 3, and you can see those here as well. Interrupt. So I can shear each of them, and I'm doing it by target equals arena 1, arena 2, and arena 3. I think this is very critical, especially for Elemental Shaman in the current meta, where we're going against a lot of mages and druids. You can't always use your focus targets. You need to be using those arena 1, 2, 3. It takes a little bit to get used to, but I guarantee you'll be a better player for using it. Next, in terms of these macros on the right here, having to do with targeting in arena 1, 2, 3, my next set is targeting my friendly players. So this is my target party 1, target party 2, and then I also have one that is for targeting myself, wherever that went. Oh, here it is, target player. Very simple macros, but it's critical because that's what I can press on my mouse, and I definitely recommend a mouse with 12 buttons for this to target my friendlies' targets. Now, why am I targeting them? Well, we'll get into it a little bit later. Most macros I use now are very specific to a specific person. They're not using party 1, 2, and I strongly recommend creating all the macros we're about to get into now against those targets. But just in case I have an ability, I actually don't have an ability that I would need to do this with because of all the macros I've made now. But in case I want to target them for whatever reason, now I have it on my keybind at 0 clicking at all on in any way, shape, or form. So that's kind of my targeting party members, targeting enemy members, and also shearing enemy members. And of course, this is focusing on arena. And kind of next, we'll go through my targeting of Earthbinds, Quakes. These are my at cursor macros. Now, if you look here over in this window, I have /cast at cursor, which means, what does it mean? It means instead of doing this with my Earthbind, like if I just press my Earthbind button, I click and I get this green circle, which is great. I love the green circle, but guess what? That is an extra click, you know? So that's how I would place it. Instead, I have this macro, and the goal of the macro is it skips all that. I just target wherever with my mouse, I press and shift 3 over here, I go boop, and it's down. Makes it easy as pie. I definitely recommend doing this. The same goes for Earthquake. So let me quickly get some Maelstrom. Now with that Maelstrom, what I can see is I have it Shift S over here, and I'll target over here. Shift S is right at my target. It's right at my cursor, and that's such a big deal. I definitely recommend everybody uses these too. I know Earthbind is underplayed in general by most shaman. It's super important. You need to use it, so definitely hit those up. Now there is one other one that I would want to call out, and thanks to Piff who originally gave this to me a long time ago, but it's Capacitor Totem. Capacitor Totem as well. When I'm running around the arena, oh quick, oh I got a stun. It's my G keybind, but it's the same thing. It's casting at cursor for Lightning Surge Totem. And again, guys, all the macros will be down in the description, and they'll be in a paste bin or a Word doc, or maybe both, so you can copy and paste them into your loadouts. Now, you might ask, well, Tiqqle, what is this show tooltip? Basically what that means is it will show me the tooltip for the ability that it's for. So again, like with Capacitor, I highlight it, it says Capacitor Totem. So that's pretty basic and just kind of a flavor thing, just so you can still see what the ability is, so you don't have to go into your books to read the description. Now, next up is my focus macros. Yes, I said earlier I have some very specific macros for specific things, but I still use my focus casting, okay? So what does that mean? And just for anyone that doesn't know, setting focus is a default keybind in here. I'm pretty sure it's under targeting, set right here, which is focus target, Control Z. What it means is if I target a target and then I click Control Z, you'll see it pop up down here. And then if I switch targets, let's target that Tortula. It still highlights this target, and he kind of keeps it in memory so that I know that that was the one I focused. So what I have is a set of macros. First of all, I have shearing. So my wind shear, which is on caps lock, so I can yell at my teammates after I do it. Basically pressing that button when I'm targeting the tortoise, it will shear the target that I set as my focus. Same as hex. I can't do it here, but it will hex that target, the one that's focused. So I have the hex macro. And then I also have one that's a little bit of a sneaky snake. Don't use it all the time. Don't want to let out secrets out. But I also have Earth Shock. So this is if I've stored up a huge Earth Shock, and I can basically surprise someone by not even looking at them, and all of a sudden Earth Shocking the healer suddenly out of nowhere. So that is something that I definitely recommend. And this can be used for Chaos Bolts. This can be used for Greater Pyros, sneaky Greater Pyros, you know, mages out there. And that's how I use this. But yeah, so my main macros for focuses are Shearing, Hex, I have Earth Shock, and then there's also Purge, which is a very big deal against Holy Paladins. Holy Paladins, I always focus target them, and whenever I see that divine divine favor, then I instantly focus Purge, and then I get it, and I'm the happiest boy alive. So definitely recommend this. Definitely focus Purge is underrated. I think Purge is underrated a little bit. People are may not be utilizing that to the full potential. I definitely recommend you use it against mages. For example, Frost Mage has a lot of shields, has a lot of probably buffs with a priest. Clean them off so that when he uses Icy Veins, you can get that insta. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to have 6 things on there when you purge and you can't get their buffs off that you want to get off. So that's definitely a big recommendation, is using that focus. All right, so the next set of macros is about your friendly buddies that you're playing with, okay? This is, if you look up here, I have Cleanse. This is so important. You need to have macros if you're playing Arena for your party members. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. There's one way where you could type in party 1, which will cleanse whoever is in your party 1 slot. Say you play with a lot of different people, and you would dispel that target that's at party 1. You don't have to target them, it would just dispel them. The problem that I find with this is it's not precise enough. What I really would recommend, and it's up to you, is to type in the name of the player that you want to dispel for that keybind. Now, I always set my, a certain keybind to always be dispelling my healer, which is shift 2. And then I always have my DPS as a shift 1. And so that's something that I've adopted for my keybinds, and I'll do a keybind video later as part of this PvP guide. But it's very important, and I strongly recommend it. I started doing it in BFA, and it's made a huge difference for me. Type in target equals and type in the name. What it means is every time you play with someone new, you'll have to update the name, but it's so worth it, guys. I mean it. Please, please do this, and you will thank me later, I promise you. Now, this is what goes for Cleanse. I also do the same thing for Earth Shield. I usually have only one macro for this, but it's usually to my healer if I'm playing 2s, or it's to my friend, my mage if I'm playing Mage Ele. And this is a way that I don't have to, again, target them and then use Earth Shield. It's just a button. I press and I know, hey, I just Earth Shield Makazar. Hey, I just Earth Shield Garf. That is what is very, very important, and I definitely recommend this. Also, I also have this for Purge. I have this for, sorry, that's Focus Purge. I also have Purge my friendly target. So this is, I'm purging my teammate. And usually I always set this to my healer. So if a priest mind controls someone, they turn to the enemy team, but it's a magic buff they have that makes them mind controlled. So I can purge enemy players, so I can purge my my teammate that's mind controlled, and it releases the mind control, and it gets him back to my team. Now you say, well, Tiqqle, you can just interrupt him, but guess what? That is on a 12-second cooldown. You don't want to do that. You just want to purge your buddy. So don't target him. Just go ahead and click your macro. You don't even need to be looking in the same direction. Just use it. So again, that's another one of these types of macros. I also have heals. This is also super important. The time it takes to do, okay, heal. Like, that goes away once you have these macros set up to be those specific people on your team. Because in reality, there's only 2 people on your team other than yourself. So I have Heal Me, which is just this button, because I never target my friendlies. And then I have my 2 macros here, Alt 1, Alt 2, which are healing my 2 teammates. I definitely recommend making it specific to people's names, but it's up to you. You could do Party 1, Party 2 if you really want to. So I definitely recommend all of those for friendly target macros. Now to the big kicker, which are the pet abilities. Now, if you didn't know, if you take Primal Elementalist, which I strongly recommend right now, your pets have certain abilities, and these abilities either do a lot of damage or they will keep you alive. Let's start with the big one, which is about staying alive. Earth Elemental, it's on a 5-minute cooldown. Let's look at the macro. This macro will cast Earth Elemental, so it'll summon the Earth Ele, And then it has another thing here. It says cast if the talent 6, row 6 is the second one. Don't worry about it. This is basically saying if you're talented into this, then try to cast Hardened Skin. Now, what's Hardened Skin, you might ask? Well, if we pull off the Elemental here, you'll see Hardened Skin is down here. It's because it's empowered. He has a stun, which I just let him do, which I probably shouldn't. And then I have Hardened Skin, which is on a 1-minute cooldown, but you only get to use it once every 5 minutes because it's a 5-minute cooldown for Earth Ally. But it reduces your damage taken by 10 seconds by 40%. That is better than Astral Shift. If you're not using this, you're missing out, and you're making your healers cry. So I definitely recommend making this macro. Basically, I can press that macro again, and now it gave me the buff. Now for 10 seconds, I have a damage reduction of 40%. Huge deal, guys. Make sure you have this macro. Again, macros are down in the comments, or sorry, description, and they're in either a paste bin or a Word doc or whatever it is. Check it out. Now, that is the Earth Ally. He's a good boy. I mean, this guy's a good guy. But what about some damage, Tiqqle? I mean, I want some damage. Well, let's bring out the Fire Elemental. I have him spawn here, but I actually have the macro set up. So, but basically what this macro does is it, one, summons your Fire Elemental. And then your Fire Elemental, similar to your Earth Elemental and your Storm Elemental, when you take Primal Elementalist, has an ability. And you actually can't make him use it unless you click it or you have this macro. And this macro will use either one, depending on what if you're using your Storm or your Fire. And what does it do? Well, let's press it. It drops a freaking meteor. And it didn't show you how much damage it did, but it actually does. Oh my gosh, that was ridiculous. That was crazy. But anyway, it does close to usually around between 8 to 15k damage to the enemy. And I guarantee there's somebody out here that don't have this macro. You're not using it to the full potential. Second part of this is to cast Eye of the Storm, which is this Storm Elemental's channeling ability, which is a huge deal. So this macro, pressing it twice will summon the Elemental, and then you have to press it again to use its special ability. I recommend you all make sure that you're using this. It's a huge, huge deal. Now, you do have to be careful because you can summon Elementals over each other to force them to despawn. So be careful about that. Make sure you're separating them appropriately and using Fire Elemental for the burst. Now, I'll talk all about burst in the rest of my PvP guide, so make sure you're staying tuned. It's going to be posted online pretty soon, and there's more news about that coming out soon. But this is the most important, is those pet macros. If you're not using them, you really need to be. It's a huge, 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 huge deal. And guys, that's about it. That is all the macros that I have. That is all that I use. I went through it all. It seems like it was very, very quick and easy, but it's very important. Most important, I think, are the pet macros, number 1. Number 2 is having those friendly abilities like Cleanse, Heal, Purge, Earth Shield on a macro for those specific targets. And then third, I think the @cursor macros make the biggest difference in the universe. They just are so easy. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if I missed out on anything. I would love to hear what you guys are using and what you guys are doing. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything else you recommend I check out. If there's any type of DPS macros you may have, bursting macros, let me know in the comments below. And this, again, is part of only one part of my PvP guide, so I'll be coming out with the next parts very soon. I'm writing that up as we speak, and which will be posted online very soon on YouTube and some other places. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.